A couple of weeks ago, the Centers for Disease Control published a study that said farmers have the highest suicide rate of any profession. Well, it turns out that's not quite true. The agency made a mathematical error in its calculation. However, the numbers are still high, and farmer suicides are a growing concern. Betsy Jibben reports.
The U.S. dairy industry is struggling. Profits have been sucked out of producers' operations.
The capacity to handle milk at processing plants is limited.
Right.
Low prices are worldwide.
That's just one of the factors why dairy farmers are leaving the business. In Wisconsin, dairy farmers are exiting at a rate of 30% higher than last year. From January to June, 338 farms stopped milking. The Northeast is facing similar losses.
We'll have members that are canceling because of economics on their operation. Do I think it's going to continue? Yes.
Because of these problems and others, all across farm country, there's an uptick in farmer suicides. Neighbors, friends, and family acknowledging the trauma, even online. One farmer posting this weeks ago, a picture and description of what's occurring after a farmer allegedly led 300 cows out of the barn, torched the property, and drove into a skid steer. We talked with two specialists about suicide rates with farmers and rural America.
Suicide rates are higher in rural America, and that would include farmers and ranchers among those figures. So I think the rate is roughly twice or three times higher. Some say it may be 4 times higher.
Quinette says it's hard to tally an exact number of deaths by suicide because not all are reported. Some states don't even participate in certain governmental programs which try to narrow down the number.
We don't know how big the problem is.
Studies show depression as a main culprit. 95% of autopsies showing low serotonin levels, which regulates mood.
And as these items pile up, you lose your ability to cope. So the stressors are more, and then you've just lost your ability to cope, and suicide becomes an option.
Michael Bronson says there's often a feeling of burdensomeness, and the thought of being buried with losses and not able to climb out of that may lead to suicidal thoughts.
But one of the main factors in suicide is stacking of losses. You have loss upon loss upon loss.
Another reason is gender.
Middle-aged men have very high suicide rates, the highest rates of all age groups.
Men also want to keep and hold up an image, and when they seek help, they tend to look online.
A farmer is very reluctant to get help because they're taught to be strong, to be self-reliant. It's a sign of, they think it's a sign of weakness to get help. Really, it's a sign of strength.
Where a farmer lives is a reason as well.
In rural communities, they have higher suicide rates in general because it is more difficult to get help.
What are some misconceptions about suicide?
One misconception is if we talk about it, we will cause it to happen. Say I'm talking with someone who is suicidal. I've just solved their very first problem, finding someone to talk to.
As profits continue to sink, specialists stand by in person and encourage farmers to reach out and even help online so problems don't accelerate.
And I would just want to encourage people to understand that getting help is a sign of strength and to not suffer alone. There are people who care and will help you.
Reporting for Agday, I'm Betsy Jibben.